Okay, so the schemas. Now, the database schema, it's a logical description of the database. Means it is the overall structure is defined of the database. So how many tables are there in the database? Every table, what is its names? Then structure of each of the table, how many columns it contains, which are the different types of data each data value is holding. So then max length, whether the zero value null is allowed or not. So all those things comes under the database schema. Now, as we know, the database design, it is divided into mainly three levels: conceptual, logical, and physical. So, the ERD, I hope all of you know the entity relationship diagram. What is entity relationship diagram? Yes. Can anyone tell me what is entity relationship diagram? ERD, I think.
Describes the structure.
Yeah, entity. Yeah, what it contains exactly. What's the use of? Tell me what's the use of ERD?
It is using for connect the two important
Yes.
information.
Complete your sentence so that I'll be able to understand. See, entity relationship diagram, it is basically that gives you the overview. I mean, the view of the entire your case study or the scenario. So we describe the on paper how your entire business structure will be. So that is the which are the different entities are involved in that particular scenario, and how though each of the entities are related with the other entities. So the association is being shown. So that is the ER diagram, which actually gives, I mean, it also gives the logical description how the entities are logically connected with each other. And what's the use of ERD, entity relationship diagram? How it helped you when you were designing or you design. I think you all have must have done the project at the UG level. So at that time you have prepared the documentation, isn't it? So in that documentation, I think you all have drawn the entity relationship diagram or object class diagram, isn't it? So how that diagram helped you in your project? Can anyone tell? Yes, Rajat, to design the database, basically. So that ERD helps you to design with the database. That is actually when we are saying the internal physical schema, logical schema, conceptual schema. So the ERD will help you to divide the content on the different levels. It helps you to for the designing of the database. Now, if you see over here, see, ERD are three different ways of modeling data in a domain. It contains the entities and the relationships. Now, they differ in the purposes they are created for and audiences they are meant to target. Means at every level, like conceptual level, there's a different set of users or the audiences. Then logical levels, different view. Then physical level, we have a different view. So it provides at every level, it provides the user specific view. A general understanding of these three models is that business analyst uses conceptual and logical model for modeling the data required and produced by the system from a business angle, while database designer uses these designs to produce the physical model for presenting the physical database structure. Okay, so that way it helps you to design the databases at different level. Now, what is conceptual model? Conceptual model means conceptual ERD models information gathered from business requirement. So that is how the conceptually your project or the your business which you want to automate. So that process, how it is working. Okay. For example, let's say payroll system. So what is payroll system? Yes. What is payroll system? It is basically the calculation of the salary of an employee. So in that particular process, which are the different entities are involved in the payroll system? I think you know what is entity. Yes, what is entity? Can you just explain, tell me the terms? What is entity? See, entities are the one who are actually what it's a real world. I mean, the entity which are involved in that particular scenario. There are two types of entity. There are physical entity and the logical entity. Physical entities means the employee, customers. These are the physical, I mean, the entities. And logical entities means accounts, loan. These are the logical entities. Okay. So the conceptual ERD models information, the first phase when we do the project development. So all of you know the project development. First step is always the analysis. So analysis phase is where you are supposed to do the requirement gatherings. Okay. So first we start with the requirement gatherings. So in that requirement gathering, you will come to know which are the different entities are involved in that process. Okay. And how that each of the entities are related with other entities. So entities and relationship is modeled in the ERD, such as it defines the business needs. Okay. Now here in the diagram, they have shown the conceptual ERD, the simplest model. So in that they have shown the album, location, tag, now photo, upload history. Okay, so this is the ERD you can say, or the class diagram. Those are using it the object oriented approach. So every entity has its set of attributes which defines it, like customer. The attributes of customers are customer ID, customer name, customer address, gender, date of birth. Okay, basically those are the attributes which defines that entity. And the one attribute, the dotted lines which you can see, though, that is the relationship, the association between them, so that is represented. And then they show the cardinalities. Now what do you mean by cardinalities? Yes, cardinalities in entity relationship diagram, or you can say the relationships. There is a one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship, many-to-many relationship. Okay, so these are the different ways the entities are connected with each other. Fine. So basically the entity ERD diagram at this level, at the conceptual level, it helps you to understand the which are the different entities and how those entities are related with each other. That is been designed or the provided by the entity relationship diagram at conceptual level. Fine. Now logical model. Logical model, it is at the logical level how ERD helps to understand. Okay, so logical entity relationship diagram, it also models information gathered from the business requirements. It is more complex than the conceptual model, because here if you see in the logical structure, Along with the column name, they have also given the that particular column is holding which type of a data. That is basically the data type for that every column is also being shown. So at the logical level, this entities will be at more descriptive level, you can say, which is showing you the data types, then the max length. How many max length means? In the varchar they have shown the inside 120. 120 varchar 120 means what? Yes. What do you mean by that number? Varchar in bracket we write down 120.
Variable that accepts 120 characters.
Yes, that is the max length, the maximum length of characters that that column value can hold. Okay, so here at the logical level, if you see, the ERD will give you the more descriptive or elaborative structure of the database. So this is the logical model. Then physical model. Now physical ERD represents the actual design of the relational database, that is along with the value. That is at the physical level, the actual data it refers. It represents the how data should be structured and related in a specific database management system. So it will also contain and the not only the data types, but also the if it is any specific constraint, you have put it on that particular data value. The different constraints like primary key, then foreign key, then check constraint, null constraint. Okay. So those will also be viewed at the physical level. So these are the different schema or the models in the database management system. Okay, remember database management system, not the distributed. This is the general levels of data models which are used in the database management system. Physical, conceptual, and logical. Remember, understood? So this is at the data physical ERD where we can, it will show you the more advanced, the detailing of that particular table structure or the database structure. This is just a revision what we are doing it. We are just revising what do you mean by what is the schema and everything. Now when we are saying, at database management system, there are three different levels: the external level or the view level, then conceptual level or the logical level, and the internal level. Okay, so internal level is basically the physical storage structure, that is the actual data. Then conceptual or logical level, you can say the database at the server side, and external or view level, that is the user at the user level. Okay, so it is divided into three levels: internal, conceptual, and external. This is again, we are just quickly revising it. So it is also referred as the internal level schema. Okay, so whenever we are referring the internal schema, it is the physical storage of the database. The internal schema is the lowest level of data abstraction, which helps you to keep information about the actual representation of the entire database, the actual data values on the disk in the form of records. Then conceptual schema or conceptual level, it describes the database structure of the whole database. Their database which contains the database entities, their attributes, and their relationships at conceptual level, remember. Now in the conceptual level, the data available to a user must be contained in or derived from the physical level. Okay, that is the one level behind, about the physical. Now external schema. External schema, it describes the part of the database which is specific user is interested in. That is from the client side. So the external schema will give you the details, or it gives the details, user specific details. So it will keep on changing as per the user. So suppose there are in banking system, n number of customers are there. So whenever I'm using that system, on that system, the user view for the database view will be different. If some other person is customer is using, for him that database view will be as per his or her requirement. So it differs as per the user. That is the external schema. The external level is only related to the data which is viewed by the specific end users. This level includes some external schemas, and this schema is nearest to the user, that is at the client side. And it describes the segment of the database which is needed for a certain user group. Like suppose I want to know only if suppose I'm logged into the system and want to check the status of my account details, like, so I'll check. So for me, only that much view is restricted. Let's say I want to see take the transactions, whatever happened from this date, one starting date and end date. So for me as a user, the database will be of that particular date. Okay. So that's why this external level schema differs as per the user needs or user request. So these are the different levels of schema in general database management system. Fine. In the last lecture, we had discussed about the schema levels of distributed database management system at client server architecture, peer-to-peer architecture, and multi-database management system. Okay. So this part is done. Now, in this distributed database management system, if you see, whenever we are referring to the global concept, as we know, the databases that are situated at different levels. Okay, so there are two basic levels, you can say, the global and local. So globally means the global database which contains the details of all the local databases. So whenever we are referring to the global conceptual schema in distributed database management system, it depicts or it represents the global logical view of a data, which contains the logical view or the schema of all the local databases. Okay. And local conceptual schema, it will be only for that particular area or only for that particular branch, okay, at local level. So it depicts the logical data organization at each site. So it will be having only the details of that particular database. And the local internal schema, will be only the physical, you can say the physical data organization of that particular branch. Fine. External schema is the user's views of their data. This part we have already done in the last lecture. Now, okay, fine. Peer-to-peer. Under this peer-to-peer, now this is one example which we'll discuss. This concept we had discussed in the last lecture. Here now we will just discuss the example for the peer-to-peer. Now this example is from the healthcare institute business. Now here in a hospital, each specialist has a group of patients which are under his care. Okay, so every doctor or the specialist you can see has some group of patients under whom he is there observing. While some patient, okay, for example, name, address of that particular patient. Other data such as the X-rays, prescriptions, history, reaction to drugs on his personal PC. Remember, are stored in a centralized server, and the other data, which is specific to the diagnosis or the treatment part, is on the specialist personal PC. For most of these patients, the specialist is willing to share their data, but there are always some cases that he is unwilling to share for different reasons. For example, part of his research program on a new drug or etc. Okay. So whenever the patient, the patient, if he wants to see the data or the information, the specialist is willing to share their data, but there are some data from that which the specialist is having from that particular, again, some part he don't want that data to be viewed to the patient. Okay, so by making the shareable patient data available to other specialists, it all allows them to look for other patients who may have similar symptoms as their own patient, and hence can help them in making the better decision on the treatment. For example, drugs to prescribe, reaction to look out for. Okay, so they'll just discuss the information or the treatments with the one specialist with the other specialist. So this is the scenario. Okay, so for this scenario, here they have deployed the P2P distributed management system, that is peer-to-peer. Okay, distributed management system. Now, first is any specialist can join or leave the network. These are the some of the you can say the assumptions or the restrictions which they have put it. Any specialist can join or leave the network. The second is the answers need not be complete, that is missing data for some specialist is not critical. Third, nodes have to search for content as in P2P systems. One sec. Third, nodes have to search for content as in P2P systems. Then fourth, the schema defined by each specialist may be different. Everyone has their own copy of data. There is then fifth, there is a need for data management. And sixth is each specialist has something to share and is also interested in others' data. So these are the assumptions which they have made based on the case study. Okay. So in such cases, I mean, by considering all these cases or these assumptions, we can design or they can design the point-to-point, or sorry, peer-to-peer database architecture for this healthcare. So in such scenarios, you can go for peer-to-peer. The next is the scenario is the genomic data. Now the genomic data is basically the details of proteins. I mean the discovery of new proteins. It is used for the bioinformatics part. This particular details, it requires the complex analysis in order to determine their functions and classification. The main technique which scientists use in determining this information has two phases. The first phase involves searching known protein databases for proteins which match the unknown protein. And the second phase involves analyzing the functions and classifications of the similar proteins in an attempt to infer commonalities with the new protein. So, while there are several known servers on genomic data, there are many servers which are available. The GenBank is the most, the well-known bank where we get all genomic data. So there are many more data that are produced each day in many laboratories all over the world. these scientists create their own local database. How this genomic data comes under the distributed database management system. That is, these scientists across world, they create their own local databases of their newly discovered proteins and results, and then they are willing to share their findings to the world. So clearly this is an application for P2P distributed database management system for the same reason as the healthcare application. So whenever there are sharing of a data, the peer-to-peer or the basically the distributed database management system architecture comes into picture. So this is the another example of P2P. Then this also we had discussed in the last lecture, multi-database management system architecture, where the integrated database system formed by a collection of 2 or more autonomous database systems. This part we had discussed. Then design alternatives. Okay, this also we had discussed in the last lecture. Now, design strategies. This part also we had discussed, I think. Design strategies also we had discussed during last lecture. The data replication, the process of storing the separate copies of the database. This one we had discussed during last lecture. Now here, this part which I have added in that, like when we can use the, or when to use the, basically. So there are alternative design for the distributed database, depends on the several factors, where we can use the replication. For one is the applications that can tolerate out-of-date data, whether this better candidates for replication. Means what? Where you don't need the, every time you don't need the updated copy of a data. Okay, in such need, that's why they are saying that the applications that can tolerate out-of-date data. Because the main, as we have seen, the main challenge throughout each copy or every copy. So for that purpose, we should see the application where we don't require the updated copy of a data. And in such scenario, we can go for the replication. Okay. Then database management system capabilities. An important database management system capabilities, whether it will support a query which references data from more than one node. If not, the replication is better candidate than the partitioning the schemes. Okay, so means what? The another option is where it will support a query that references data from more than one node. So if such scenario is there, then again we can go for the replication. Then there are many situations they have discussed. Then the replication implications means that each node is periodically refreshed. When this refreshing occurs, the distributed node may be very busy handling a large volume of updates. So if the refreshing occurs by event triggers, refreshing could occur at a time when the remote node is busy doing local network. Implication which they have discussed about the replication while updating its copies. So instead of doing the actually periodically, they can, if it is periodic, they can set up a event triggers. So with that triggers, when a certain volume of changes accumulate, automatically that trigger will fire, and the refreshing or the updation of that data will happen at the local machine. And these are some more, again, the heterogeneity in the network replication can be complemented if different nodes use different operating systems. Let's see another challenge in the application. If every database or every node is using different data models, then the structure becomes complex. So at that time, again, the replication is not possible. I mean, we should not go for the replication. Then communication network capabilities, transmission speeds, and capacity in a data communication network may prohibit frequent and complete refreshing of very large data. हेलो, लास्ट टॉपिक कौन सा था जो आप लोगों ने सुना? बिकॉज I had completed
division of multi
vertical fragmentation. Yes.
Because ma'am, actually it was lagging. I can't hear you.
Oh,
Ma'am,
okay, then from where I should start? Sorry.
vertical fragmentation.
Vertical fragmentation. So okay, so shall I start again from vertical fragmentation? Vertical fragmentation. Oh my God. This is the with the vertical fragmentation. We divide the table into vertical. Okay. So it is visible now. Screen is visible.
No, ma'am.
Screen is
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
you lost your network connection.
No, ma'am. We are not able to see the screen.
Oh,
One
here
second,
properly.
one second. Again, I'll share. Now it is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now you can see the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So vertical fragmentation, where we divide the data column wise. For example, as we had seen, there's a student schema having attributes, registration ID, name, marks. Let's say again. Okay, name, then course, address, semester, fees, and marks. So this is the student schema or the student table which we have. Now, let's say this particular schema, we want to divide it vertically. So they have taken one operation. I mean, they want to separate out the fees from this student schema. I mean, the fee details, and those fee details they want to create put under a different fragment, because mainly the fees, this particular value is being more used or accessible for the account section. So they just want to cut out that fees ka part and put it under different fragments. So here they have written a query for it: create table std underscore fees as select registration number, comma, fees from student. Okay, so if you see here, they have selected the columns. So in vertical fragmentation, we divide it by column wise. So they have created the fragment std underscore fees having the columns, registration number, and fees, so that this particular fragments can be made available closer to the accounts section. Understood? From the student table. So this is the vertical fragmentation. Then horizontal fragmentation is row wise or the tuple wise. Tuple means rows. So doing vertical fragmentation is easy because there you directly select the columns. Okay. But in the horizontal fragmentation, you have to specify the condition. How you want to divide the data horizontally or the row wise. So that's why while fragmenting the data horizontally or doing the horizontal fragmentation, you should also see to it that you are confirming the rule of reconstructiveness. What is reconstructiveness? What is reconstructiveness? Yes. What is reconstructiveness? Just now I had told you. What is reconstructiveness? Related with the fragmentation? Yes, Jeffin? Rebuild, yes. See, from the fragments of the, fragments, again, you should be recreate the original table. That is the reconstructiveness. So whenever we have fragmenting the data, we should take into, see to it that we are for satisfying the rule of reconstructiveness. So each horizontal fragments, and another important thing in the horizontal fragmentation, you must have all the columns from the original base table. Remember, so if you are doing student, using the student for the horizontal fragmentation, then it should have all the columns from the student schema, that registration ID, student name, student address, marks, fees, all the columns. Remember. So example here they have given. Now they are dividing, what they are dividing, they have the data university wise. Okay, now in the university we have a different departments: physics department, computer science department, chemistry department. So from the university student database, they just want to fragment the computer science student details separately, so that it will be can put it closer to the computer science department. Okay, so for that purpose they want to create the horizontal fragmentation. So they have written a query: create comp_std, a name which you can give any name. So computer_std as select star from student where course is equal to computer science. So what this particular query will do, it will get details from the university student database. It will take the computer science student details and put it under fragment comp_std. So this is called as a horizontal fragmentation. Here if you see, they are used the select star. Asterisk means, star means it will take all the column values. Understood? But only of computer science students, remember. So here in horizontal fragmentation, the condition is very important, because based on that condition, you are dividing the database horizontally. Understood? Vertical fragmentation and horizontal fragmentation. Any doubt you can ask. The third is the hybrid. Now, hybrid is basically the combination of horizontal and vertical fragmentation. Now, this is the most flexible fragmentation technique, since it generates the fragments with minimal extraneous information. However, the reconstruction of the original table is often an expensive task. So here, the satisfying the reconstructiveness rule is little challenging task, as we are using the both horizontal and vertical fragmentation. So hybrid fragmentation can be done in two ways. First, generate a set of horizontal fragments, then generate vertical fragments from one or more of the horizontal fragments. Means what? First, you will divide the database horizontally, and then you can divide that each of the fragments vertically. Okay, this is the one. Or another one, at first generate a set of vertical fragments, then generate horizontal fragments from one or more of the vertical fragments. Or the next, another way is do it reverse. First you start with the vertical fragmentation of the database, and then on each of the fragment you can apply the horizontal fragmentation. So as per the need, you can choose any of the alternatives. First generate the either first generate the horizontal fragments, or and then on each of the fragment perform the vertical fragmentation. And then next is the first take the vertical fragmentation, and then on each of it perform the horizontal fragmentation. Okay, so these are the three ways of fragmentations: horizontal, vertical, horizontal, and hybrid. Okay, now today we will do some practical or hands-on related with the fragmentation, okay, on Oracle. All of you have installed on your machine? See, now here what we are doing, there is no, I mean, the actual distributed database system we are right now we have. So what we are going to do, one second. We are locally only, I'm going to create two database using I'm going to create a link so that there will be two different databases, and then how we can we are going to perform the fragmentations on that. Okay. Now, okay, by the way, I hope you all know how to create table and all, isn't it? Create table queries and everything, you know. Yes. And what is constraint and all. So can anyone tell me? Let me just devise you with your few of the concept related with the creation and all, table and all. Okay. So what is primary key and foreign key? Can anyone explain? Yes, what is primary key and foreign key?
Primary key is it uniquely identifies each and every row in a table.
Yes, correct.
And the unique key identifies a relation. And
what is foreign key?
Oh, foreign key.
Anil has written, yes, correct, Zufin, very good. Anil is written foreign key is used to connect two tables. Yes. What it is called, that term? Which constraint it is? Primary key, foreign key relationship, that constraint we have. What is that constraint? That constraint is differential integrity constraint. Have you heard of it? referential integrity constraint. It is basically the primary key foreign key relationship. Means what? Whenever you want to connect two tables logically, or you want to create the association between two tables logically, we use the referential integrity constraint. Means what? Can you give me an example? Can you give an example how we can connect or how we can create the association between two tables through queries? Which is that keyword we use? So this is the basic database, I mean the queries I'm asking you. It's okay if it is wrong. At least you will come to know where you are landing. See, you must have seen the keyword of references when you're writing a query, the create table references. References is the keyword which is used for creating the referential integrity constraint. So suppose you have a customer, there are two entities, you can say customer and order. Okay, so these are the two tables you have, customer and order. So customer places an order. So these two tables are, I want to connect it logically. Or employee department, like employee works for the department. So these two tables are logically connected. Now, how I am going to create the logical connection? Can anyone tell me? Anil Sharma? Anil Sharma, we would like to hear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Anil.
Yes, ma'am. I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible. You can speak.
Like, ma'am, we need to create the first table.
Anil, can you be a little louder?
Yes, ma'am. Now, sorry, now.
Yes, Anil. Perfect.
Ma'am, we need to create two tables. First table must be contains the primary key attribute, and the second table.
Let's say we have to connect employee and department. Okay.
Okay.
So which are the attributes will be there in the employee table?
Like employee ID, and it must be the primary key.
Yes. And
the department name also, that the column.
okay, department, which, I mean the column name will be, which column it will be?
Department name, maybe the last one.
Department name or department ID?
Fine, department name also and department ID we can take.
No, it will be department ID.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay? Because department name, the details about that particular department, all will be there in the department table. Okay, so using department ID foreign key, you can access other attributes from the department table. Okay, so in employee table, you will have the attributes related with the employee, that is employee ID, then department ID, remember, department ID, then employee name, contact number, salary, and others. Okay, mainly employee ID, where that employee ID you will declare it as a primary key. Okay, and DPT ID will be foreign key. Fine. And in the department table, you will have department ID as a primary key, and there you will have employee ID as a foreign key. Remember, in department table, DPT ID is a primary key and EMP ID as a foreign key. Means what? In the employee table, you can duplicate department ID, but you cannot duplicate employee ID. Understood? Because it is declared as a primary key in the employee table. In the department table, You can duplicate employee ID, but you cannot duplicate the department ID. Okay, so, and remember the label which you will specify, the same label you have to specify in the other table. अगर आप EMP underscore ID लिख रहे हो primary key in the employee table, the same name you have to give as a foreign key in the department table, and vice versa. Like department ID, department में जो department ID आपने दिया है, DAPT underscore ID लिखा है या DPT hyphen underscore ID लिखा है, जैसे लिखा है, the same way you are giving department ID in employee table, only with the foreign key. Okay, so this way we can create the logical differential integrity constraint, and then accordingly you will have to write down in the create table statement. Okay, create table query me. So that will create the logical connection between two tables. Okay, so for creating a table, which query we write down? Sneha Gaikwad. Sneha? Hello, Sneha? Sneha, can you tell us how to create a table? Okay, let's start. Sneha, where is Sneha? We don't know. Fine. See here, they have created employee table. Okay, EMP table. So create table EMP, and the values attributes they are passing: employee number, employee name, address, email, and salary. Now create table EMP. EMP is the name of the table. You can give any name, okay? But it should be logical. Now while declaring the attributes, you write down first the column name, space, data type. Now, as I can tell you that these data types, sometimes it is var, sometimes it is varchar too. It changes as per the version, okay? So don't worry. There are few of the, it's all minor changes. So first is the column name, then data type, and then the constraint. What is constraint? What is constraint? Which are the different constraints we have in database? On table we can put it. The primary key is the one type of constraint.
Unique.
Unique is there, yes. Then
Index values.
Like.
Sorry?
Like.
Like is the operator. अगर आपको string search करना है तो like करते हैं use. That's an operator.
Null, not
Constraint. Not null. Not null is a constraint. What is the use of not null constraint?
To ensure that column doesn't have any null values.
See, these are not constraints, and some, yes. Yes, so it has to insert some value into it. Okay, so that is the not null constraint. Then you have the check constraint. Check constraint is for, suppose in, let's say, the age. So you have to, for that age, the age between third value range you want to specify, then you check constraint. So that particular column will have, the user will enter only the value between the range which you have specified. So for that, we put actually the restrictions on that particular columns using constraint. So when we are saying the primary key, it will not allow you to duplicate the value. Same for the unique. So here we are creating a EMP table with this field. So I'll just is now what I should do with this. This is what you can say. Every time we have the first error, which is of this type. Name is already used by an existing object. So use the different name. The table with the EMP name is already, the screen is visible, no?
Yes.
Okay, fine. We'll just name it different. Write down MSc. Okay, so the table is created with the fields employee number, employee name, address, email, and salary. Now you need to insert the records into it. Now insert, which are the different ways you can insert the, write down the insert queries? Can anyone tell? ये जो मैं दिखा रही हूँ right now, I'm showing you. This is the one. Another way, can you tell us? This is one way you can insert the record into table, which is the another way of writing insert into. Okay, so Yatin's record is created. See here we have written the insert into table name. Values is a keyword, and inside that we have passed the values which you want for that in that column. Remember, the sequence should be same, otherwise it will give an error. Then the data. If it is varchar string characters, then put it inside the single quote. If it's a numeric, then without quotes. Fine. This is one way, and the another way is insert into, and then we specify the first column names separated by comma, and then values, and inside in the next parenthesis we specify all the values. That is the another way of writing the insert into. Okay. So one record is inserted. We'll just add few of the records. MSc. We'll add 5 records. We'll not add also. See, now you can start. I don't know how many of you have installed actually, but start practicing all this because I know you have to revise the basic queries. How many are done? 1, 2, 3, 4. One more we will add. Okay. Now let's see if the record has been added. So we have added the 5 records. Okay. In the table MSc EMP. Now we'll create a database link. As I said, here to create a distributed database environment, we are just separating the databases. We are creating the databases through link. Okay, so this create database. First, we'll create the default link. This is the syntax of creating the link. Create database link, keyword, as it is you will write down, space, the name of the link. Okay, so default link here, which you can see, is the name of the link or the database which you want to create it. Connect to, again the keyword, connect to system. Now system is the username which I had for my Oracle. Okay, that is the username and user ID which you have to pass it. So connect to system identified by Oracle, like a Scott Tiger. Okay, so username and password. So system identified by Oracle. Oracle is for my system. Using is a keyword again, and then space name. What name you want to give for the database. So it is this, you can give any name. Fine. So you can change over here. I'll give like, let's say MSC, or not MSC, forget, we'll creating the, say Sampada. Okay, fine. So create database link. This is for the create database. So this will one sec. Okay, with that database link, it is already created. So what we will do, we will give the different name. Default link 1 we will see. Okay, so create database link space default link 1 space connect to system identified by Oracle using Sampada. Okay, the database link is created. Now this is, okay. So create, this is the default database link, which we will create as saying link, MSC link, connect to. Now here it was, now it will change. You will give the username and password of your system, remember. So we are just creating 2 copies basically. Duplicate link name, I think I had created before. So I'll just rename it again. Okay, so database link is created. Fine. So we have created 2 links. One is the default link 1, another one is the MSC link 1. That is fine. So 2 copies. Now we are creating the vertical fragments. So vertical fragments are the column wise. So first we'll create table EMP1. You can give any name. Let's say I'll say post underscore EMP. In the first fragment, what I'm doing, I'm taking only employee number, employee name, and address. Only these three columns I'm taking in one fragment. Okay, that is the first EMP fragment. And from EMP, now here the table name. One second. MSc EMP. So create table space fragment name, that is first underscore EMP. As is a keyword, you will write down as it is. And from table MSc EMP, I have taken employee number, employee name, and address. Okay, only these three columns for the vertical fragmentation. So the table is created, so fragment is created. Next is, now this was from the default databases which we create. Now from the link, we will create one more copy. So it says second fragment, second EMP, as select employee number, employee emails, and salary. Okay, in this fragment, we are taking these three columns: employee number, email, and salary from default link to MSc EMP default link 1. Now here the name I have given default link 1. Okay, create table fragment name second underscore EMP space as keyword space select employee number, comma email, comma salary from MSc EMP @ default link 1. So this way you can create the vertical fragments. One sec. Create table second MB as select and could not resolve the connect identifier specified. Okay. Not resolve the connect identifier specified. Checker default is @ only. No? Or shall we go for colon? One second. It is @ only. Still, we will just. I think the name. Default link 1 only. No? Default link 1. So to connect identifier. Could not resolve the connect identifier specified. Yes. The name is proper, no? I have written default link DEFA. Let me check. TEFAULTLINK1 default link 1 proper है. Okay, it is still showing me the same thing. One second. Connect user create comments. Okay, fine. I think it is giving some with that. Maybe the version, there are some different operator they are using. Okay, I'll check it later. Okay, and I'll let you know. After that, in default database, we will just check whether it is created. Okay, the vertical fragmentation, that is select star from first underscore EMP. Okay. So for this first underscore EMP fragment is created with the fields employee number, e-name and address. You see now that second EMP will also work. I'll just check with that operator why it is could not resolve the connect identifier. Okay, for connecting it. So I think if this year, lecture will stop here. It's 1955. Okay, and the next lecture will continue with it. Any doubt you can ask.